Since we have 10,001 videos on this channel, I thought to share of the symbolism of that number. Starting off with the placement of it, we have above are north, and the types of height find its center. The word is of innocence and ideas that transcend matter under the purpose of our origins being spiritual. And if we look in the sequence to that number of verses in what we call the King James Version of the Bible, we arrive at 2 Kings 17:17. And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire and use divination and enchantments and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord to provoke him to anger. Now, Lord is not a correct translation of Yahweh, which be increasing existence, establishing. God is a noun and a verb. But that's what they have. Because obviously they're trying to connect you more to the idea of Jesus as Lord. And, it's a person's more likely to fall for the confusion with all this Lord instead of, So enchantments, the casting of spells on people by means of various male and female entities. Of course, that's what they're talking about, and their messages through oracles are using them to interpret the oracles. The passing through the fire, people jumping over flames and running through flames and over hot coals and all sorts of stuff. There are ways to make these things safer, but things are going to happen with somebody somewhere, even if it's done right. It's not usually done perfectly right whenever there's some, I don't want to throw out some term because I don't even know what's going to set people off with that. But yeah, there were certain fire rituals and all that. But the sage directs the oracle. The sage doesn't just consult the oracle. He directs it. So you can seek out dreams and visions through techniques. You can shuffle cards or whatever to associate meaning. But when you roll the dice and you say, because the dice fell, just because God sets the final material rules or whatever you're going to say, doesn't mean that God's sanctioning the meaning that you're going to attribute to it, or that God is specifically answering you. And certainly a lot of people, they worship the oracle instead of God. They ask the oracle stuff. They don't pray and ask for stuff to God. They sort of do it to the oracle. So that's part of what's going on. So Acts 21:29, and I can't help but think that verse in Kings, aside from the mention of Baal, it reminds more of the Yazidi with their astrology and oracles, and some of them have rituals where you pass children through the fire for Malik Taus, and it's not to hurt the children or anything like that, because that's usually not what happens, and particularly, as I said, there are safeguards that are taken. So Acts 21:29, for they had seen before with him in the city of Trophimus and Ephesian, whom they supposed that Paul brought into the temple. And this verse is related to Acts 15:20 or 19 through 20. And it's in parentheses, so it's one of those verses that didn't occur in some of the older variations. But let's remember that there's over 10,000 Greek variants of the Bible, and it's not like the Quran dialect things where you don't have a contradiction and you don't, stuff like that. You actually have different words, different. Some have sentences that the others don't, or verses that the others don't, and chapters as time goes on. Sometimes different people mixed in, rather than just in some languages there being a N for an M and a S for an SH or something like that, But Paul bringing into the temple is a important thing. I guess the LDS would like the fact that it's mentioning Paul and the temple. So the temple was still a very important thing. But there's an importance in who brings who into where and all that. And the fact of previously being known. But Christianity depends on terrifying people too much when we should only be afraid of big sins that will take us to hell, not hysteria over tiny offenses. Well, there's a problem with that. How do you prevent the big sins? By regarding the little sins. And then you are going to make judgments. Well, what are the big sins? And the people are going to argue over that. But things pile up. In the non-moral world, things pile up, and people need to stop with their nonsense like that. And before we get into a bunch of phrases that may not have proper language and some other stuff like that, we have the zip code of somewhere in Manhattan, New York City, is 10,001. So the government, well, I already shared the one, but the government is smearing the reputation of Apple when it is merely protecting its customers and its proprietary technology that is not the way to elicit cooperation. Now, you wonder sometimes, do some of the companies insert this stuff out there? Or is it people that have joined, like have a cultic following of Steve Jobs or Elon Musk is one of the big ones, and people are like, oh no, Elon Musk votes Republican. It's like, who cares what party he's voting for? It has nothing to do with, act on principles and consciousness and all, that sort of stuff. Don't save me from a humiliating enemy. Do not give me into the hand of a judge who is severe with sin. Forgive me all my debts of the days of my life. And don't seek out the hardship, seek to be delivered from the hardship. Because whether it's hardship or ease, what we want is the opportunity to use it right. Now you have a plague of sociopaths because you refused to punish evil and permitted it now. What will you do? A lot of people have, we can't, no. The death penalty and all the rest of it cuts back on crime. So it's a good thing. Now the dehumanization and experimentation and slavery isn't quite the answer, is it? At least not generally. And then that spreads outside the prisons and the county jails and all that. So, Ladybug Decode Gematria is literally littered with my disappointment and mourning over your rejection. I must never speak of it again. It is done. It is finished. Yes, Lord. And of course, by Lord, I don't mean what, as I'm saying, I don't think Jesus would have wanted worshipped. I don't see the evidence is pointing in that direction, and that goes for all those that they put into the Jesus figure. Eutybrabus Benuda, Apollonius, Barnabas, the Iesu, which is a little bit different than Jesus, because Jesus is more of a formula than an actual name. I expect all angry Karens to override magnetic and electromagnetic thought form intrusions with intuitive mother-child defense, emotion in this and all earth moments. Thank you, says Moggs. Well, let's not use the word Karen as a racial slur or whatever, but this is something people are going to say. But it's important to notice that thought forms do have physical field functions, so that's an important thing to do. And it's not just, there's a difference between nature and instinct and stuff that you've had a corrupt thing. It's like, well, you deal with people. Things have their role. Don't throw a fit because things won't go your way like you plan. Like people's like, why can't you reprogram my computer to run a different way than it says it? Or if it says to swipe up or down or to the side, just swipe that direction. Don't complain at a computer store that people are like, it's not working right. It's like, well, sir, you have to follow the directions of the device. Did you click on it once? Yes, I clicked on it once. Or and this idea that it's one race over another that falls into this stuff, I don't think so. It's more maybe because some races are more common in America, but let's be honest, it's and it's being encouraged from all sorts of people. Ask anybody who's a teacher. First there was the Cold War. Now we have gray zone warfare with China that risks flaring up in a moment's notice. And of course, all that stuff is, is a fact of not just top down, but bottom up stuff too, right? Illuminati, a short-lived movement of Republican free thought founded on May Day 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, professor of canon law at Ingolstadt and a former Jesuit. Now, I've addressed, I'm not sure how many sentences I said around that Freemason Lodge, but I addressed that end of it. And I also did a video about the Illuminati, the all-licking tongue or something like that, to address those conspiracy theories based around what William Guy Carr said. But see, Republican is the type of government we have. We have a constitutional republic. That's how America was set up. So they don't mean the political party because the political party didn't exist yet. But as I said, you're responsible for what you believe and do about these sorts of things. I just offer them as a tool. As I said, with oracles and divination, it's not that, whatever tool I can pick up. It's like that the needful things. Was it the needful things? The guy has this game that he can put in the names of the horse racing, and he can keep winning at the track. Of course, in real life, some guy keeps coming there, and no matter how big the city is, or even if you go around, they're gonna start noticing. Wait. This guy, whether he comes here erratically or whatever, but he keeps winning. He's got to have some inside information. Of course, even if you think it is a sure thing, I wouldn't recommend gambling. But the point is be honest about how you figure things out. Don't basically speculate, or you're going to find good or bad things in any of these numbers. So add more things if you can share something.